is in Scottsbluff. We cover 34 school districts, all the way out from Maxwell, all the way to Scottsbluff, Sydney, Valentine, all the way down south of the interstate. We just took in 12 more school districts as the recruiter side to help recruit for ESU 15. So we are one of the largest areas to cover. I've been with the migrant education program for 3 years now. This is my second year as the educational liaison. So what that means is I am the service provider's go-to. So any help they need, they can reach out to me and I can support them. I can help approve their curriculum, their lesson planning. If we hire new service providers, I'm the one that trains them and gets their shadowing schedules. I meet with all the schools with them. And any support they need, I am their person to go to. Kind of relieves some stress from the coordinator and the director. Other than that, that's me. And so I've just traveled a lot. I've been to Kearney area, I think last year, and got to work with them, and that was really exciting. So I don't know what the cuts this year, if I'll be able to do that again, but I'm always willing to come out and support wherever you guys are at.
Thank you, Justin.
Yeah.
Leti?
Yes, good morning, everybody. My name is Leticia Rojas, but I like to be called Leti. So yes, thank you to everyone. Buenos dias to everyone here again. Yeah, so I am the migrant service provider here, lead here for Omaha. We basically cover all of our Sarpy and Douglas County. So we have schools within here, OPS, also in Bellevue and also in Ralston, and also in Papillion districts too as well. Other than that too, we focus to going in our high schools and our middle schools. I currently provide services at Bryan High School, and also at Burke High School as well. Our numbers continue to grow. And yes, just excited to be here with everybody, share with you guys, how we go into our buildings and how do we work with our students and our families and also staff members. But more importantly, also to here with our team, how we all support each other as well in many ways. So yeah, excited to be with you guys.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you both. So if at any point as we continue our conversation, you have any questions, you can unmute yourself if you want to go that way, or you can type it up on the chat. I'll be looking at the chat as we ask them questions, but we want to make sure that you have those opportunities today. All right, so let's kick off with the big juicy question around collaborating with schools. And the question is, what strategies or tools have you found most effective in establishing open lines of communication with school administrators or teachers, counselors, social workers, paras, to support migratory children?
Okay. Something that I love to do is I like to introduce myself in person. I think it's important to make that one-on-one connection. I know that we do a lot of stuff on Zoom, on Teams, emails, but honestly, I think sometimes administrators, building principals, counselors, they're already overloaded already with like emails, with referrals from teachers, from deans, from securities, attendants. So for me, it's important that this person meets me, knows who I am, and I like to introduce myself. Hi, my name is Leti Rojas. I'm with the Migrant Education Program. I am here to support you in any way that I can to facilitate and assist you in any way. And of course, assist our families and our students. And honestly, the key to a building, I'll be very honest, are your secretaries. You always want to have that great connection with those secretaries, because those are the people that know where, one, they know where the principals are at, they know where the counselors are at, they know where your deans are at. And sometimes they'll even take care of you and they'll give you a key for the building. So that to me is my key people are always my secretaries, maintenance people as well, because if I ever need something from them to be moved around, or if I need a door to be open, those are my to-go people always, so That to me is always important, and security as well, because if I'm ever looking for a student or I don't know where a room is at, like we always have security personnel outside our buildings. So for me, it's always important to have a connection with everybody in the building, whether it's just hi and bye or how's your day going, how's your morning going. I think that's important as well.
I agree with you. It's all about those relationships. How we do it on ESU 13. As I said, we cover 34 school districts. We send a letter every school year to the administration teams, the superintendent principal, asking and requesting a meeting. And then when they respond back, myself, director or coordinator will go to the meetings with the service provider and the recruiter. And we just sit with them to review what our program is, we review our shared students, what we have to offer, and then ask what they would like to see from us, so that we're not doubling services. We've taken a folder that has all the information, then usually from there, then we get the okay from the admin team to start reaching out to teachers, and probably 90% of our schools have let us in and we've not had issues. But it's that communication and the consistency of going in and staying checked up. And like she said, making those relationships with teachers, your secretaries, all of them. So just that relationship, I would say, was the key factor.
I agree.
Sure. And Justin, as you have that distance in the panhandle, how does that go with you? And I think now maybe we're all being challenged with mileage as well. How do you think that's going to impact this year for you as you continue those collaborations?
I think it's going to take a lot of myself and then the director and coordinator to go. This year with those cuts, what we've done is if we've had a positive relationship with the schools in the past, then we're just sending out their recruiter or the service providers to meet with the admin. We necessarily don't have to be there this year unless they're requesting, then we'll be there because I know our budget is cut, but we want to keep those positive relationships. And if that's what the school requests, then we'll figure out how to get there or, Zoom.
That's what I was wondering. I would say, are you guys going to try to maybe do some Zoom? We know how that is. We're in it right now, but are you guys thinking of it then?
Yep, I think if the school really wants to meet and we can't get out there due to travel, we're going to offer Zoom. And I think most schools will be open to do that, or it might be more convenient for them just hopping on Zoom and visiting with us. So we haven't had that yet. We are just now starting to get into schools just this month.
For sure. Awesome. Thank you. So, with that collaboration, it usually provides opportunities to test the trust that we have with the school. And we get to see it right away with sometimes how fast they answer emails or how they answer us on the phone. Oh, it's Letty, or they're like, hey, Letty. Like, how do you guys focus on establishing and maintaining those just relationships very positive, so we can ensure that we have those relationships with the personnel to allow us to provide the MVP services that we hope to do every year?
This is my second year with the migrant program, and I know my first year going into the building was hard. I'll be very honest. And that was because I was based before at another high school where I knew everybody. So here I am now going to other buildings, not just one, but multiple buildings and new staff, new administration. Some buildings are very welcoming. Some buildings are very iffy whether to let you come in or not, or, like, hey, who's this person coming in? Is she here to check us out? Is she here to snitch on us or something? And that's what it felt sometimes, like she's going to tell on us if we're not doing what we're supposed to. And that first year was hard, I'll be very honest, where it's like I was going in and I felt homeless. I'm like, well, where do I go? It's okay, where do I go sit? Where do I try to figure out an office space, and it just came to the point where I said, no, hey, we gotta go. We gotta go build those relationships. We've got to go take initiative. But hey, if they turn you down one, let's go find another person. And taking no was not going to be, in my book. I was going to be persistent. And hey, this is what I'm here for. I'm here to advocate for our students and advocate for our families. And that's what we want to teach our students, to advocate for themselves. So for me, that was important to what I was preaching to my students, that I was going to do that for myself as well. So, I mean, there were times where the librarian would say like, oh, sorry, you can't come in today. We have this whatever going on. Okay, well, here we go. So then I would turn around and I would try to find another place, or I would go into the counseling office and they'd be like, oh, well, how long are you going to be here for? So, I mean, there were some ups and downs, but at the end of the day, we're there to assist our students and advocate for our students. And I never took no. I mean, there were some times where I even had I had a director of counseling even have a meeting with me with 3 other counselors because I was advocating for one of my students. And I'll be very honest, here I am thinking I'm going into a meeting with one person and it turns out to be it was 4 people. So it's like, and I'm like, no, I got this. We're here to advocate. And that 1 year was rough, I mean, because you have people looking at you, hey, what is this person here? And then you have some other buildings that they're like, hi, Lucy, welcome, how are you? Like, what can we give you? What do you need? So it's a 50-50, but at the end of the day, after that 1 year mark, that you continue and staff see that you're there to assist your students and you're there to help and facilitate also, they will see it. I mean, this year, I'll be very honest, this one staff that she's been throwing me off this whole year because every morning she tells me, good morning, Letty. And I'm like, oh, good morning. I'm like, oh, she knows who I am, So it is important, like I said, and I know sometimes it's hard to build that thick layer of skin because some people can get to you. They really can. And I'll be very honest, I am very opinionated. I will speak my mind, but I've had to learn that I can't do that all the time. I just got to learn to put my thick skin or put some, lotion on myself or, and just let it slide off. And that's just what I do on my everyday basis, to be very honest.
Right, it goes back to that relationship building. I know going into a new school can be scary, especially if you're going in by yourself. So here in ESU 13, we try not to send anybody by themselves if they're not comfortable the first time, but sometimes that's impossible. So it is that's where I come in and check in with them and make sure they have the tools and they're prepared to go walk into a building and meet administration, as some people get nervous meeting with principal superintendents rather than the teacher. So it's just that consistency and building relationships. And if there's issues, we just tell them to bring them back. And we're not going to get into every school, and that's okay because we can find other ways to serve our students outside of school.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you, guys. I wanna now talk a little bit more about those services. We have a lot of questions that we're surrounded about. How do we serve our students to ensure that we're not doubling services, that we're providing actual supplemental services? So how is that experience for you guys? Because we sometimes have some schools, right, that are more aware of those needs for the kids, and then we have the schools that are struggling to understand those. But yeah, how do you guys ensure that when you provide services, that we're providing proper supplemental services? And then I'm sorry to add a little bit more, but within that, how do you make sure that maybe as we do provide a supplemental services, we can collaborate with those personnels? If I need to repeat it, let me know.
Okay. As a microservice provider here at Omaha, we have targeted our students academically that we know that we have actually access to IC Infinite Campus, so we are able to see our students' grades, which is nice for us because we can see academically how they are doing. We can actually go in, check, do queries for each building. Which all of us, we have a query list for each building of our students, and we just hit search, migrant to all. So then instead of targeting 1,500 students, it just targets for us already our students for the building. So then we will then query, and then we will check our students' grades. I know we just try to focus on our kids that have F's and D's academically because we want to make sure, hey, 1, what's going on? Like 2, let's check your grades. Let's see, are you performing? Are you doing your summative assignments? Are you doing your homework? And we can actually go in there with the student and we can check with them, because a lot of students are really like, well, I don't know what I'm missing. So then what do? We go back in there and we check, and then we target our assignments with our students and we work on it with them. Like, hey, let's try to see if we can turn this assignment. Some assignments, unfortunately, some teachers have already closed for, the assignment for the students. So we try to focus on those that we can, so that they can get caught up and they can at least get, their grades up. But sometimes it could also be attendance. It's not necessarily an academic issue as well. Sometimes it could be an attendance issue. And then us going in there in IC, we can also look and check in their attendance. We can see if parents are being called in, if maybe even like our support school liaison, which is the one in charge of the attendance issues or concerns. We can also check to see, or even under student services, we can also double check to see if our students are, one, hey, like, is there some issues going on? Like, two, has maybe even like a staff member from the school has already made a home visit. And if that hasn't occurred, we have the opportunity then, of course, then do support services from us to go into their home and figure out, hey, what's going on? Why isn't Jose coming to school? Is everything okay in the house? So it's a 50-50. Sometimes it could be academic, but then also it can also be attendance issue going on. And if the student is not present, I mean, unfortunately, they're not there to learn the material and they're not there to do the performance of doing their assignments.
For service providers, we go in and we look at that PFS and that risk, and that determines who we work with first primarily. And it's just that communication with the teachers of what are the needs of the students, and see what they are working on at that time, so we're not doubling services. If we find that we are, because sometimes it does happen, then we reach out to the teachers and see how we can move the schedule or change things up, or what else we could work on. But if we're noticing that we're just doubling services and really just at the school sitting there when and supplanting, then that's where we would move to home visits, saying, hey, we're just let the school know we're going to not come every week now. We'll get some services at home. We're going to talk with the parents. What does the parents think they need for their education at home? And we'll focus on that piece if the school has it covered.
Mm-hmm. Nice. That's awesome. Good stuff. Good. Well, then I want to shift the conversation just a little bit now, talking about a little bit about those challenges when we collaborate with schools in general. Do you guys have a story that you've encountered some of those challenges? We don't have to say names, but if you can share some of those stories and how you guys overcame that. And, because our main objective is to provide the services and see those kids graduate. But yeah, you guys got a story for us, El Chisme?
I think a story that was very valuable to me, that was nice having a relationship with the building, was I had two siblings. They're sisters. They're in middle school. Actually, now she's a high school this year. Now she's a freshman. But I had been working with mom. I had seen that my fifth grader at that time, she was struggling academically. And there was just some stuff going on. I just felt like it wasn't that she wasn't giving it her all. She was just struggling in a few areas. So I had then did a referral with our coordinator here to see if we can provide some EL services, English language learner services for our students. And I come to find out that when we did this referral, as I got to know her more, I come to find out that there was some stuff going on at home. Like financial, mom is a single mom with 4 children. Mom was going through some legal situation as well. And big sister was the one that pretty much ran the house because mom worked like Monday through Sunday. She had 2 jobs. Mom was behind the light bill. I didn't realize that they had a order of disconnect. But luckily, because I had this relationship with my student and I had built this relationship, she was able to share that with me. At that point, then I reached out to our social worker at our school. To my surprise, I mean, the school went beyond to help this family of ours. They provided a check for the mom so that she can pay her utility bill and it wouldn't get disconnected. We also got those EL services for our student as well. And then one of our teachers was so humbled down for, you know, what was going on, that during the holidays, he gave me a gift card for me to give to the family, that it was something he wanted to do for them, just to let them know that himself, he was able to connect with the family, because he also was in that type of situation at one point, he was saying, so I know how it is. So he identified himself with this family and he wanted me to deliver this card. And it was just very magical to do this for the family, really was. And it was a whole team effort, because it wasn't just the building, but also the teacher, family, everybody. So yeah, that was probably one of my magical stories.
It's awesome.
A story that I have, going back on school collaboration, is when I first started 3 years ago, we went and met with this one school outside of North Platte, and they met with us, but they fully didn't understand our program, because they thought migrant meant immigration. So sometimes it was just educating the educators on really what our program and what the word migrant really means, just mobility. And they kept saying, no, they are a middle class school and no one's going to be opt-in. They don't run buses, so we don't have none of those students there. So that really rubbed me the wrong way. But I kept going back, the recruiter and I, and pushing. We ended up finding a two students that attended there. So we went back and set up another meeting saying, actually, you have 2 current students that are in our program that attend your school. And they're like, oh, and they're like, how? So we explained the process, and they're like, oh. So then they did let us do services that year, but they were still just like watching us and not really comfortable with being there. So it was still awkward. But then they had a family move from North Platte into that school district with 4 kiddos, some with some high behavior needs. And this school didn't really ever deal with high behavior needs and was like, didn't know what direction where to go. Well, I previously worked with those students in North Platte, and I said, well, actually, those students are in our program, and this is what we've done at the other school. And so it really opened their eyes. It's like, oh, you have that relationship already and you can help us. So started building that rapport for that school. And then we had just this year, another students attend from South Africa, and they've never worked with students in that culture relation, but we have. So it was going in saying, hey, we met with the family, we know what to do, this is how we can help and support you. And it was one of our first schools getting into this year for a service provider. And then she's there weekly, and they have really appreciated. So just, it takes that time and relationship building, but it will get there.
It's awesome. Hey, you brought up a perfect, I think that's a perfect other next question then I think we should make up. But how do we support our schools when they have a community that they've never encountered before start coming into their schools? Have you guys experienced that personally? And if so or not, what would be some tips or hopes?
I think for me, I had one student, she graduated last year. She came from Africa. And I also learned a lot from my student. And of course, also the family dynamic too as well. This is a student of mine that basically, dad, you did everything that dad would say in the household. So if dad said no, even to a great opportunity that I knew my student had, it was so hard to try to communicate with father because I was a woman and it had to come from a male, unfortunately. And that to me was, I'll be very honest, it really would, I would get really furious about it, very angry about it, because I could not understand dad, but then I had to be understanding of the dynamic of the family. This is how they were brought up, and this is how it works in the household. And I'm going to have to figure out a way how to communicate to father if I want my student to get what she needs and what she deserves. So then I would then reach out to my interpreter who speaks French, because family speaks French. And this is how I had to communicate, was through a male, in order for my message to be heard so that his daughter could have these opportunities. I'll be very honest, there were times that dad would just go along with my conversations. I can tell with the interpreter. And he was just saying yes, yes, yes. And then the next day my student wouldn't show up. So that just showed me a lot that I would have to work a different technique with my students. So what would I do? I would pull in my student in during advisement. And I would ask her, okay, can you tell me a little bit about your culture? Can you tell me so that I could try to understand? Teach me so that I know how to communicate with your family. And she did. She taught me how to do things. She's like, call my mom, explain it to my mom. She's like, my mom then will stick up for me. So I knew the bridge. And actually, yesterday I spoke to this mama because I had to talk to her about her son. And as soon as I said, this is Miss Rojas, she has been learning English. She said, oh, Miss Rojas, how are you? I said, good. I said, so that dynamic was really amazing because I had to understand this culture, but I haven't really been exposed to, other circumstances other than this one student that I've had to learn a little bit more.
It just goes back to advocating with the schools, and so the one school I was talking about, for them coming into a different culture, they were exposed to it. It's just advocating for the family and the school, and sometimes it's a fine line because you're the middleman doing it. But it is really there as your role as the service provider to go in to service the students. So you just really got to advocate for that student and their needs, no matter based on their culture or anything like that. And then we also had hold schools together with parents and be that middle person to support and advocate for both sides, so that they understood where the family was coming from and the school. Just like I know we get a lot of modal grade where they come in and they're not, English isn't their first language, so the school is going to put them in a lower grade. So that's a fine line to walk on. But we've done that middle person and just supporting them, saying, no, this is what we can do, and this is where they should be. That's how we've handled the situations. I've seen in our area we've had a lot of movement that these schools are being more adaptable and culture changing, as I don't know if most of you guys know that North Platte's coming for this big feedlot coming in and a meat packing plant. So the community and the schools and the outside schools that have been meeting with like Lexington and Cozad schools on when Tyson came, how did that change your school district and impact? So this area is doing a very good job of collaborating with other school districts in communities, what that will look like, so that they are ready for this change.
Can I add something else too? I think it's also important that we, just like you mentioned, advocating for our families and students, but also advocating for our students that have the potential to take honor classes and AP classes. I've had a few students that were not put in correct classes because I can tell why aren't you not so engaged in these classrooms as I'm in there observing and trying to help you? And once again, they'd be like, they're too easy for me. They're boring for me. I'm like, really? I'm like, all right, then, well, let's do this. Show me you can do it then here for this first semester. And I promise that I would go advocate for you. I will reach out to your teachers. I would then, of course, CC our counselors on there like, hey, I have this student of mine that, academically they are performing high. Is there any possible way for the next academic school year we can have the student take an honor class or an AP class? And teachers, I mean, if they know their students are doing good and you're reaching out that the student spoke to you about that they would like to take an honor class or AP class, 99.9% of the time, if they know they're going to be successful, they're going to put them in these classes and they'll recommend them. And I have one student that I'm so proud of him. This year, he has AP and honor classes and he is excelling in all of them. And I remember I asked him like, hey, you have a C in this class. Like, what happened? He's like, I know, miss. He's like, I just got to turn in an assignment. I promise you, I'm going to turn it in. And sure enough, he did it. Academically, he's performing all A's and B's. And this is a migrant student that I know he is going to do amazing. So I'm really proud of him. So yeah, so I think it's also reaching out to those staff members and letting them know that our migrant students are also AP capable and also honor capable too as well.
Yes, advocating. Love that. Awesome. Well, let's jump into a little bit of a topic that's not so awesome, right? At times, relationships may be either broken because of many circumstances. at a school district or just a specific school. I have multiple questions that are around this topic of like, how can we collaborate or how can we try to nurture back this relationship with the school that doesn't want MEP there? Justin, you touched a little bit of right if they don't understand, but just I don't know if you had this personally happen to you too, or if you have tips for a project or service providers that are struggling with schools that really don't want them there, or I've passed and maybe former MEP employee cause harm. I think that's happened in the past as well. What are your thoughts? Not so fun, sorry.
That is tricky and it does happen. You know, I think it's just that consistency and talking with the schools on just having those meetings over and over. And trying that doesn't sound good to convince them because they're educators, so they should get the program and all that. We use a lot of name dropping we're with the Department of Education because we really are funded by them and everything. And that because sometimes they don't understand that they think we're just a local agency from like DHHS and we're just with welfare. So it really is educating educators on, hey, this program has been around for a while. And yes, back in, in the 60s and stuff, a true migrant student was ones that came over from different countries and they would migrate from state to state. But we have also transitioned to showing that families that move for short-term or long-term moves, that it's still affecting the education. So it could be any student, and the student could actually go to school there the whole time and have a short move, and they qualify, and show them that with that short move and the education gap and the moves, and just educating them that this program is really beneficial to all students and what a true migrant student is. And if you burn a bridge with like a service provider going in and then just leaving, that does burn a lot of bridges. So we do a lot of repairing those relationships, and it is hard. But I think the schools are noticing, they're having teacher shortage and teachers leaving. So I think they're like, we get it, there are budget cuts and people are moving to a different industry instead of education. So they're getting it. So we've not seen this part of a year and a half, we've not been seen that as a factor of us not wanting in the building or not understanding the migrant program or our changes. They are adapting to our changes as they have changes as well, because they see us adapting to their schedules and changes. And I think COVID was a big one with us going with COVID, and they didn't want us to come in during COVID, but we still really need to be in there to help with those students, and just showing that we can adapt to their changes if they're willing to adapt to ours.
Thank you. I think, what do you think?
I haven't been put in that situation yet.
Hopefully never.
Yeah. I mean, Susie is our coordinator here for our program, and she does an amazing, phenomenal job communicating with our district. I mean, she goes in and, she sends out emails to our building principals. I mean, but there are times where we probably don't get a response from the building principal, or, hey, like, we sent an email, did you get it? But I think, just like we're mentioning, I think it's just that building that line of communication, it's important at the beginning, when school starts, getting into those buildings, of course, so that they get familiarized. Who's this person? Well, hey, I'm here with the migrant education program. And yeah, but at this point, yeah, we're pretty blessed to work with Omaha Public Schools to go in our buildings. We're based at the TAG building too as well. So, we're connected, I feel, and then, some other, areas, I feel, because we could just go in, we have our badge. I mean, our doors open for us. We don't need to put in our buzzard or none of that stuff, so but we do have some times where, we don't feel like we're welcome sometimes, but it's just that line of communication where I feel like it's the key.
For sure. Yeah. A little bit different, right? Of being part of the district. But even you, I mean, like you mentioned, right? Like even you had challenges in the beginning, even though you had a badge, right?
Yeah,
So,
definitely. It's yeah, I mean, even security, they'd be like, they're like checking you out. Like, does she have her badge? Like, yes, it's right here. Good morning, you know? So,
Mhm.
yes, I mean, it's just coming in and just say, it, you know, and they'll be like, oh, no, you're fine. You got your badge now, you know? And it's just reassuring them we're here to help and support in any way that we can. But yes, I mean, even though if I have my badge, it doesn't mean that I'm going to be welcome in every building. You know, I mean, some buildings, like I said, are welcoming. Some other buildings, they're iffy about you. And I mean, it's just a hit and miss, to be honest. But once again, line of communication and taking no for an answer is not in the books for us. We should.
For
And I
sure.
think to add to those, building relationships like with the schools, especially the smaller communities, is really talk about not just the migrant, the move, but like agriculture and what truly is agriculture work and what qualifies. Because I'm not a recruiter, but I know there's hundreds and hundreds of ways to qualify families in ag work. And some of your communities things, if they're a full-time ranch or full-time farmer, that's all ag is. But there's so many different options. So it is visiting with the schools about different ag pieces that work, and it doesn't have to be full-time to be in our program for ag work. So I think hitting that agriculture piece with schools is a big one too.
Yes, man, Justin, what a perfect segue to the next question and topic in the recruitment world. If I do want to mention, if you do have questions, please put them in the chat. We're getting on to our last several questions, so I want to make sure that if anyone does, we can ask that instead. But talk about recruitment. Yeah, how do as we collaborate with schools, what are some of the ways that you guys? Oh, sorry, that's the alarm to get my child, but my wife has him today, so no worries. How do you guys help the schools understand that we also need their support as we get referrals, you know, for new families? What's your take on that?
Here in OPS, of course, when our students come in and they do the registrations for our students, there we have a form already for our parents and families. So if they do click yes, that you know they have they're coming out from another state, or you know, or they've been moved, that's like, of course, we get those names sent to us. Here in the migrant area, we have our amazing recruiters here. They, of course, then they will get those names and those phone numbers, and they will go out and recruit our families to see if they can qualify. Our teachers are aware too, our staff members in our buildings, as they take in new students in, like, you know, there's also a form for our families. And if they feel like they may qualify, they immediately shoot us an email. So that's also another way that we do recruitment as well.
For here, what we've done is we've worked with the beyond the school, just the school district. We've had connections with the student director of services, who is above your superintendent and principal, and make connections with them. And I know in North Platte, another area, they have mandated that it's in all their online enrollment forms that they have a checkbox to mark if they work in agriculture or not. We've also had several schools that any new student that comes in, they are just calling a recruiter and giving them the information, the parent's name and number, and the recruiters are trained to ask those questions, whether the school knows where they work or not. So we have worked very hard on that, of just letting the schools let us put in you know, our forms, or getting it marked on their enrollment, giving us any new names, and then that we will do the work to see if they qualify. We've also had schools reach out and wanting us on their Facebook page. So putting up our service provider recruiter on their Facebook page to reminder out to parents out there that, hey, we do offer this program as a, you know, an add-in to the school.
Yes, for sure. Thank you. Thank you. Okay.
And families do love Facebook Messenger. Families love it. Now, students, no, students love Instagram. So that I have learned. So yes, that's another way of communication.
Yeah, that's fine. Yep.
Dad, I'm so sorry. I have a quick question.
Please.
So, how do you communicate with your families? What are some tools that you guys use to communicate with your families massively as a whole group and individually? Sorry, you just mentioned communication, and then I thought of that question.
Perfect question.
Sorry to put you guys on the spot.
No, do you mean, Emily, like when we meet the family for the first time, or or
Like
when?
meeting first time, like ongoing, like maybe there's this event that you want to share with all your family members, like how do you communicate with them?
So definitely when our families are recruited, we have a recruiter and we actually go in with our recruiters and we do that initial meet and greet with our recruiter and the provider. And behind me, you're going to see some school supplies right here too as well. Worked out perfect for you, see? And we actually take this box of school supplies and we do like a list of check off with our and we do some questions with them too as well. And it also gives us an opportunity to learn a little bit about the families too as well with our recruiters as well. And it's more like, hey, this is the migrant service provider. I recruited you. This is what they're going to provide as services. And of course, line of communication, I introduce myself. I let them like a little business card with on there, like, I will be working with your student. If they're at Bryan High School, I let them know my days that I'll be at high school. My job is to make sure that your son or your daughter are doing academically good. I'll be checking on attendance. I'll be checking grades. If there's anything that you feel like I can do for you, feel free to like contact me. Now, as far as like when you talk about meetings or anything going on to the school, yesterday I made phone calls for my students and parents that parent teacher conferences are going to happen today. This is a great opportunity for you to come into the building from 12 to 7. I said they're going to have interpreters for you. And I said, I will be there. I said, I will be there after 4:30. I said, but if you want to come talk to me and see me, I say, feel free. I said, but this is also a great opportunity for you to get to know the building too as well. You get to know your team. And then also my students. I made it a point where I said, hey, you got parent teacher conferences. And there was one, he said, Agustin actually, he said, Miss, I have good grades. I said, I know you do, but this is even a better opportunity for you because if you bring your parents, they're going to hear all these amazing, great things about you. I said, and parents don't know. I said, because we're such on work mode as parents that we forget to ask these questions. I said, and if we hear it from your teacher that you're doing good, it's gonna make my heart feel like you're doing a good job. I said, and then maybe afterwards you can tell your parents to get you some ice cream. I said, so I like to, because sometimes it's not just about making those bad phone calls. I feel like sometimes it's important to make those positive phone calls too. But yeah, parent meetings. We, as a team, we also contact our families. Once again, that line of communication is reaching out to our, families. We know that they work until 4:30. Some of us will make those phone calls. Some of us know that our families are available in the morning. So, and it's just building those relationships and our families know that, hey, you know what, we have a parent meeting with migrant. Let's participate. So yeah.
What we've done is after the family is qualified in the program with the recruiter, we do kind of what you guys do is we do what we call welcome visits. So it's the recruiter and the service provider that going into the home, they schedule that. And that is where they just do introductions and they talk about what services we can offer. Usually the recruiter is having the parent sign a permission slip, just kind of go over what more details of our program. And then the service provider right then and there is also meeting with the students and building that report and bringing some type of activity so that the parents can see the provider working with the students right then and there saying, oh, this is what they're going to do. And they're going to build that report. And then it makes it a lot easier for the service provider going to school the following week to work with the student if they've already met them. So we do a lot of welcome visits. And then what we've done last year to put into place is after a service provider is done working with a student, at least weekly, they need to take a picture of the student or the work and just texting the parent saying, hey, I just worked with your student so or your child so and so, they're doing great. This is what we worked on. And every parent loves getting a random picture in the middle of the day of a positive thing that their students are doing, of their kids are doing at school. Because sometimes all they hear from the school is the negative. So we can be that positive of, hey, Johnny's doing really good. That's what we've done today. That's what we've been working on. And with that, it kind of opened the doors of more communication and texting and phone calls. And now our parent nights are thriving because we have that relationship. They're coming. And some of the tools we're using is just text messaging, phone calls, messenger, anything like that we do to communicate with them. And during that welcome visit, we ask them, what is the best way of communication would you like? And then they will let us know we like text, like phone calls. This time we like to use messenger, and then we'll just use what they're using.
Nice.
Thank you.
Yes.
That was a great question and great answers. One more? We have time for one more other question. If anyone has any. No, don't worry. You can always contact them, right? They are your colleagues. But any final thoughts, Justin, Letty, that you guys want to share with the team around this topic or in general?
No, I just encourage you guys, if you have any questions, reach out to me. I'll put my information in the chat. I know this year's a little different for every area, getting into schools and home visits and building those relationships. So if you have any questions or need some different, sometimes it's good to look outside your team and what other areas are doing. Like I said, last year I got to go visit Kearney and see what they're doing, and we're all here for the main purpose and the same goal, but each area does something different. So I got to bring some stuff back to share with our team and stuff that they're doing that we've done as what they're doing. So I just encourage you to reach out outside your team and support each other, especially this year where we've had we're a smaller service provider unit now as a state, so we need to lean on each other and build relationships.
Yes, with Justin, yes, building those relationships. Also with your colleagues, ask for help. Ask each other for support. I do that with my team. I know like one of my subject areas that I am not good is math. I'll be very honest. And my team knows that. And what do? I take pictures like, hey, I got this student like that needs help. Like, can you help me out now to navigate how to do these? So ask questions. Some areas you might be stronger than, your colleague. And I always tell this to my team, if I don't know the answer, we're going to go find out the answer together. So always know that. And we're here to support and help each other out. If you guys ever want to come out to Omaha, you guys are always welcome to come out here and check out our building. But we're here to support in any way that we can. And I enjoy working with our students and families here with our migrant program.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Letty, would you also share your contact info, please, on the chat?
Claro que sí, not a problem. I'll do that right now.
Yeah, you guys can get it on the directory, but you also can save it right here and then right there. Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Justin, Letty. Let's give him a round of applause, a virtual round of applause. Woo. Yes, we appreciate you both, and we hope that we can continue to make those differences in the schools that we're in. So yes, thank you both, and I hope that people reach out because that's very important. It's kind of a follow-up PD, right? Reaching out. So yes, thank you. But as